Good morning, friends. Today we are dealing with a new poem, When Old Folks Laugh, by Maya Angelou. This is the prescribed poem in your common course, Ways with Words. So let me talk about Maya Angelou first. Maya Angelou, born Margaret Johnson in 1928. She was brought up by her grandmother in Arkansas after the divorce of her parents when she was 3 years old. She spent her childhood moving between her grandmother, her mother, and her father. Later, as an adult, she played a prominent role in the American civil rights movement. She was an American poet, memoirist, and civil rights activist. She published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, several books of poetry, and is credited with a list of plays, movies, and television shows spanning over 50 years. She received dozens of awards and more than 50 honorary degrees. Angelou is best known for her series of 7 autobiographies, which focus on her childhood and early adult experiences. The first, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, published in 1969, tells of her life up to the age of 17 and brought her international recognition and acclaim. So let's start the poem. When Old Folks Laughs. They have spent their content of simpering, holding their lips this and that way, winding the lines between their brows. The poem begins with a description of how polite people may laugh. They simper. Simper means smiling without emotion. Okay, just like a plain smile, which is a poor imagination of a laugh. Simper become always a poor imagination of a laugh. We can just say it is a laugh. A silly smile that contains no emotion. People tend to try to control their mouths and even frown sometimes in an effort not to laugh properly. That people always do. Or perhaps in a way that is genuine but socially unacceptable. They have spent their content of simpering, holding their They have spent their content of simpering, holding their lips this and that way, winding the lines between their brows. Old folks allow their bellies to jiggle like slow tambourines. Just opposite as youths laugh. Old folks used to just jiggle their bellies, big bellies, shivering their big bellies. They used to laugh. Very innocent we may feel. They have such a feeling of innocency. They laugh without any prejudices or any tensions. In the first stanzas, Angelou describes how old folks allow themselves to become completely involved in laughing. The simile in line 7 to 8 compares the way their stomachs shake to their rattle of a tambourine. Tambourine is an instrument that produces an erratic sound based on the amount of energy put into shaking it. This is the image of tambourine. The phrase Belly laugh comes to mind when one laughs from the stomach. It is a deep seated, genuine expression of an intense emotion. They turn slowly, slyly, knowing the best and worst of remembering. Saliva glistens in the corners of their mouths. Their heads wobble on brittle necks, but their laps are filled with memories. In these lines, Angelou describes how old people turn slowly. It seems as though they are looking around at the effect their laughter may be having. They are slyly knowing, sneakily aware that we all have to deal with all types of memories. We can feel old people are feeling difficult to raise their head always. And old people have no control over their bodies precisely, and so they have saliva showing and their necks no longer seem able to hold their heads steadily. The foundation of all of this is the memories of life, though they hold firmly and safely to themselves. The same way, a grandparent may hold their beloved grandchildren in their laps. When old folks laugh, they consider the promise of dear painless death and generously forgive life for happening to them. The last four lines of the poem make the final statement about all people laughing. It is a way of looking towards what death will offer and let them make peace with this. They are not afraid of death, they are waiting for death happily. The phrase, dear painless death, is almost a form of paradox. See, dear painless death, dear. We know death won't be dear to us. That is why we call it paradox. Death is the end of life and often widely held to be the enemy of man. Here it is described as dear, suggests some form of affection for what it will bring, what it can offer. The laughing is also a way of the old people expressing a final acceptance and understanding of what has happened in life. So that is the end of the poem. Let us rewind it. Poem describes firstly the way old people laugh, but the poem content goes deeper than that. As the poet describes the physical process or physical appearance of the old people's laughter, she also describes their characters, thoughts, and feelings. The poem comments on various aspects of growing old. The poem describes old people as having attained a certain freedom, the freedom from pretension of having vanity. The poem talks about the wisdom, the knowing of all people. The poem also mentioned that old people have a lot of memories. There is a sense in the poem that memories have a special meaning to these people now that they are old. Lastly, the poem raises the subject of death and describes old people as having to consider the prospect of death and the end of life. These are all characteristics that distinguish old people from children or adults who are still in the early or middle stages of life. So, that is the philosophy that Maya Angelou wants to share with the world.